Hey guys, welcome back to Chasing Collectibles Catchup. I'm Tyler,
I'm Tim.
I'm Lauren.
and we got a pretty good guest with us today. We got Mr. Walter Hunt. Walter, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Glad to be here with you guys. I'm very honored to be in the same room with fellow like-minded individuals who share the awesome thing called the hobby is of nerddom.
Yes, indeed.
It's great to have you, man.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and as you can see,
Um,
room is all dedicated to room. It's all nerd. It's called the Nerd Room. Forget Man Cave. It's called the Nerd Room.
I gotta own it.
that's great. That's great. Yeah, I know we have a number of questions to ask, and so I guess we'll just get right into it with you, so everyone kind of get to know you, and we can just chit chat and enjoy the conversation.
Um,
So you talk about nerdum. You have some type of an origin story, can we say, that you
sure,
can share with us?
of course. Well, my nerd story started back in summer of 1983 when I was born. My mother took me to go see, and I was that baby that was sent to went to go see Return of the Jedi. And ever since then, was fascinated by it. And you could say the weird thing is, I would cry during when Jabba the Hutt or Yoda would be on the screen, but when Emperor Palpatine or Darth Vader would be on the screen, I would laugh.
Smart baby.
Thank you. I mean, why not? I mean, and rightfully so, because I do belong to a international costuming charitable Star Wars cosplay group known as the Sith Dynasty. I'm the senior membership officer. Basically, if you submit your costume, I'm the guy that checks the email and tells you it's good, and my team will tell me if we need to add things to that. Hey, this needs a belt here, and they need proper boots there, or your cloak needs a little bit more Sith like. That's. But you could say my mom, she got me into Star Wars. I mean, she read the crawls to me, the subtitles. So you could say it's interesting that when I watch a Star Wars movie, I see crawls. I feel like I hear my mother's talking to me.
That's awesome.
Oh,
It's really
yeah,
cool.
man.
Thank you.
Uh, So I see some, you mentioned Star Wars. I do see, Detective Comics in the back. I see Superman and all that. So are there like what all are you into? I know, Star Wars must be huge. I see Marvel. I see a whole bunch. I see a lot of everything. Um,
Yeah,
so what would you say you're into? I mean, is it just a little bit of everything? What are your
a
things?
little bit of everything. Yeah, I mean, because Marvel and DC and Star Wars. I mean, they all have their own fandom. I mean, I love Star Wars, preferably the original trilogy because I grew up with the original trilogy. And then I love Marvel because I grew up with the 1990s X-Men and Spider-Man animated series, and I'm looking so forward to X-Men 97 when it comes out to Disney Plus. And then there's the DC Comics, which I love, Smallville. I loved. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but I loved the show Birds of Prey. I loved that show. I wish it had more seasons. And I love the 1989 Batman film with Michael Keaton, which I'm psyched for him to be in The Flash.
Yep.
And I really loved the animated series of Batman. Superman, the animated series was a hit and miss, but I love the Fox seasons of the Batman the animated series, especially with Danny Elfman doing the score. I mean, gets me ready to go. It's actually in my workout mix. Whenever I go out for a walk, I put on the Batman the animated series, and I'm psyched. I'm ready to go.
That's awesome. Yep, I haven't watched too much of the animated series, the cartoons, but yeah, I think my favorite Batman movies were definitely the Michael Keaton era. Those were just fantastic. Yeah, he did a great job.
Yep, and we'll
Oh yes,
and we'll
no
be
doubt.
seeing
I
him
mean,
again soon. Yep, like you said, he'll be in the Flash.
Yep, that's gonna be cool. But he
it's,
he did reprise one of his lines. I saw the newest trailer. He says, "You want to get nuts? Let's get
yes,
nuts."
Yeah.
Like,
yes. Which,
Yeah,
he should have fought that. He should have said, "Nah, no, 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 nah, man."
exactly. I mean, and plus, how could you go wrong with the '89 Batman? I mean, granted, it's not Christian Bale, Ben Affleck for some people are used to the modern Batman or Rob Paulson or Paulson, Patterson. but I really love the '89, especially the ending when it has Batman looking at the signal up in the sky. It feels like a comic book right out of like a Frank Miller comic book, or like just I really wish that I could see more Batman films like that. I mean, maybe I'm pushing it. Maybe create more Michael Keaton Batman movies. I mean, we technically didn't get our Batman 3 and Batman 4, or Batman Forever, if you want, Batman Robin with Keaton, which I really would. I mean, no offense to Val Kilmer or George Clooney. I just think that Keaton, I mean, he played the Bruce Wayne role perfectly, he played the Batman role perfectly, but and Jack Nicholson was great as the Joker. I mean, who doesn't like a villain? I mean, with a hero that must also be a really great villain. So,
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. Yeah, I thought Patterson did really good as well, but
mm,
I think my favorite is it's got to be, you know, it's got to be Michael Keaton. That first movie, I've said this on multiple episodes that we have, that was just my favorite. My favorite, you know, going to the movie theater, I was psyched. You know, I'm not even really a Batman fan, but man, I collected all those toys, you know, from Toy Biz that came out from that era, and
mm.
I've since sold them all. But yeah, that was the bomb. That was so awesome.
That was before
Oh
all
yeah,
um,
oh
big
yeah, and I'm
comic book movies were as big as they are now.
Yeah.
right. But I will say this to you guys. I mean, that's also the movie that discovered, that introduced to me the singer who would become my all-time favorite singer. This is probably I don't know if it's considered in the category, but it's what helped me to appreciate the music talent of Prince, because Prince did one soundtrack, Danny Elfman did the other, but the whole soundtrack with Prince of Batman, I could play that from start to end and not skip it. Because sometimes when we're listening to a song on Spotify, sometimes we skip it, but that's a CD that I just leave, just not mess with it or anything. Just let it play from beginning to end.
Yep. Electric Chair is probably one of my favorites off of that one. That thing is so awesome.
We were
Right.
talking
And
we were talking about Nickel Spot Comics before we started filming, which you used to come to our store, which is awesome. And I remember we used to, put on all sorts of music, just whatever to fill the air. And I remember used to put that soundtrack on quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
it's true. I remember those days. I remember actually in the back of my mind, I was so tempted want to like go on par singing, because I mean, how can you not go wrong? I mean, the Party Man is definitely the ultimate Joker song, and the Bat Dance, which is corny as some, but I still love the Bat Dance. I mean, come on, how do you not? I mean, Prince in those videos actually feels like the Joker. I mean, Grand Jack Nicholson is the Joker hands down, followed by Mark Hamill. But hey, it's all good.
Yeah.
I like the Heath Ledger as far as Joker goes.
Okay.
I think for me, he was probably number one. I think I've mentioned this before when we had another guest on. I think my number one was Heath. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, I think, was Jack. And
Mm-hmm.
number three was Cesar Romero. And then we'll go with Joaquin Phoenix, I think is, you know,
Would say, I mean, they've
a
all
little
got
bit older than most of you guys. So that's why I'm still partial to Cesar Romero.
Oh yeah, the 1966 Adam West, which it's funny enough, actually, whenever I can't sleep, I usually will turn on Me TV and then we'll see a Batman 1966 like marathon of that in the Green Hornet,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
which is something I watch with my grandparents. My grandfather would always have a VHS, a blank tape, and the thing record any Batman episode. And because hey, I collected Batman comics. I mean, I have like three storage tubs, but nothing but DC comics, Marvel comics, and then other like Dark Horse comics, and then like Image comics with Spawn, which is another hero I actually enjoy, which most people didn't like the 1997 Spawn movie, but I actually did not mind that at all. I mean, it was not obsolete effects, but it was really good effects. At least the story wise, it felt like a Spawn comic book.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people have to remember of the time in which it came from. You know,
Yeah.
and the type of effects that they were trying to use, a lot of digital stuff, all those things were still really new.
They were.
It just,
That's true. Go ahead.
They
but
did
as
they did
far
with what
as,
they
you
had.
know, the right. And I mean, but as far as the character of Spawn, I thought it was spot on, you know.
It was
Mhm.
fun.
Spawn
Exactly.
That's right. It was spawn on.
It was. And fun fact about that movie is you probably already know this fact. If you but fun fact about the movie is they have the creator of Spawn making a cameo as one of the bums in the alley, and is one of the first victims that the violator basically attacks.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
little
Uh,
more you know. But either way, I really
so,
but you're right. But it was way ahead of time and new effects. I mean, that was also the year when Batman Robin came out, and then when Blade, which was the first, I guess at the time, I think first, I guess adult superhero franchise that got launched. That was back when Marvel was starting out. When people actually, at first, it wasn't taken seriously, but it was actually more of the first mature audience for superheroes because everyone thinks superheroes they
mhm.
go Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, they but they don't think about Blade. But I actually like Blade. The first one, yes. Second one, third one, no.
So Walter,
that
how
whole
did you get
time,
into? Go ahead, Tim.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just gonna say that whole era. I mean, we had, you know, we had Spawn, we had Blade, we had Daredevil, we had the Fantastic Four, Spider Man, and the first X-Men film, and it was just at that point and in time, I didn't think it was ever going to get any better to be like, you know, a superhero fan and enjoying the movies, you know. And now it's almost like we have a new film or show out every month. It's almost oversaturated now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true.
But
So
you know,
so Walter, you,
Yeah.
you mentioned you
go ahead, Lauren.
do cosplay and collect figures and comics, but you also do podcasts. So how did that start? How did that come about?
Well, I started collecting figures. Well, and as a kid, I wish I had done it sooner. But as a kid, I I should have just never opened my figures out of the package. But the thing is, the figures of yesteryear, if your vintage figures, have such a better depth to them and more. They have more. They feel like out of the comic book. And about cosplay, let's just say I started cosplaying back in 2010. I got the idea to want to cosplay because a friend of mine who had told me about there is a a costume for us, not just stormtroopers, because when you think Star Wars costuming, people thought of or cosplay, they thought of just the 501st with stormtroopers. Well, me, I love the Sith. I love all the things like Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Maul, Count Dooku, etc. But then, and I used to do Star Wars role play, and I actually had my own character, and they had say, hey, you could actually do that like for like at Comic Cons, right? And you guys, I said, wow, you could do that, and you can do it for charity and make a difference. Well, I started doing it in 2010 with my Sith costume, which at my first Sith costume was just a simple robe that I got from the Spirit Halloween store. It was okay, but then I upgraded to it, and I had saved like enough money. Went to Etsy and had someone tailor made a Sith costume for me, and was not cheap, but it was fair, and I still have that costume to this day. And of course, after that, I started making more costumes. So since 2010, I made over 24, almost 25 cosplays in the making, and I have enjoyed it. In fact, I was at South Carolina Comic Con last week, and I did Uncle Martin from My Favorite Martian, the old 1960s series, which had a Disney movie reboot with Christopher Lloyd and Jeff Daniels. And I enjoy it very much, especially when I get people say, "Hey, can I get a picture with you? Hey, nice costume." And sometimes when I do the character, I do their voice impression too, and try to understand their body language so I can actually become the character. Like if I was Moria one year, I like to not just cosplay as him, but do his voice, do his body language, and do what Mario would do in a sense, like it's me, Mario kind of thing. It's just all excitement because as a kid, I used to always go to Walmart and get Halloween costumes. I mean, I was a kid that would wear Halloween costumes to school because I love Halloween. Halloween's like it's my Christmas, and every time there's a costume shop open, you I will go there and at least spend maybe 50 or 70 bucks at best and put a costume together for the next Comic Con. And I love cosplay a lot. I mean, I love the community. I love the creativity that goes with it, and I love the fact that how there's so many different ways you can cosplay as a certain character because you don't necessarily need to be perfect. You don't need to say, "Oh, this is the movie version, this is the comic book version, this is the cartoon version." It's your own version of the character, and it's good to have that because it shows creativity, and that's something I'm a big fan of.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well said.
How did you get into the podcasting? You mentioned that you've started doing, or you've done quite a few podcasts. And how did you start? How did you start with that?
Okay, well, I started an old YouTube series called Cosplay Connections, and that had up to 100. Originally, I was going to stop at 25, but then I wanted to continue more. Then it got to say, okay, 50 is enough. That nope, I'm going to stop to 100. Then I felt pretty confident, so I got the idea to do my cosplay series on YouTube because I was watching a documentary called Nature of Existence, where people would talk about what they believe in this and believe in that. So I thought maybe a good way to interview cosplayers and find out where they got their pieces, what they love about cosplay, any advice you want to give future cosplayers, and what they dislike about it. And basically get to know the person behind the cosplay, if you will, in a maybe 20 to like 10, 20-minute long interview, if you will. And then it would be nice if I turned it into like a documentary one day, but I love the idea of doing to get to know why people cosplay, and I've had some really interesting stories. I mean, of course I told myself I would say very last episode to get to know my story, and people would actually know why I cosplay, and good way to end the series. And I would love to do it again, but I think 100 is a good way to stop. But then eventually, 2 years ago, I thought about creating my own podcast where you just hear commentary, just hear my voice, because I like to listen to a lot of talk radio, and I think talk radio doesn't always have to be political. And what if it was all about nerd stuff? And I thought, let's create a podcast for nerds called the Nerd Power Hour. And I got the name, of course, from a 1990s like Marvel things where the action Power Hour. And I thought that's really neat, Power Hour. So, and I'm a nerd. I mean, I tell people I'm a nerd before it was trendy. I was one of the original nerds that played Magic the Gathering on the bus. I was the guy who played D&D, and I thought this would be a good thing to talk about. And there's so many forms of nerdom. It's not just like sci-fi, but it's also like costuming and collecting and being interested in common interests. And being nerd is more common than people realize. And I even create a cross-stick of what nerd stands for: natural, eccentric, reliable, determined nerd.
Nice.
And I also I basically I'm the jack of all trades kind of nerd. I like to do a little bit of everything. And you could say that I love to learn new skills. From do-it-yourself projects to costuming, but I love doing the topics of nerdom. And in fact, every 7 or so episodes, I do like a top 10 list. Like from my previous episodes, I put the little topics in a tin can, and whatever I pull out for that tin can out of the raffle will be what I'll talk about as the top 10. Like, for example, the top 10 reasons why Die Hard is a Christmas movie versus top 10 reasons why it's not, per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, and I've had guests on there, but I mean, if you guys want to check it out, it'll be awesome. I mean, I'm on episode number 35 right now. It's about Comic Cons, which will be a really good topic. And next episode, I'm trying to debate what I want to talk about. I will definitely, I'm open to a guest. If anybody wants to be a guest, they're welcome to.
Cool.
What? You had talked about doing 100 episodes. You completed 100 episodes of cosplaying. Can you think of anything, you know, that stands out that you have learned?
Well, what I haven't learned is what you asked.
Like what you learned along the way from all
Yeah.
those episodes.
Okay. Well, there's things I haven't learned. I haven't learned, honestly. I'm trying to learn how to sew. That's the one thing I'm still trying to learn. I mean, if I could learn anything, that's my big challenge. I'm trying to learn how to sew because honestly, thankfully, I have good friends who do so. But at the same time, I would like to learn how to sew myself because I mean, when you have a torn costume, that cosplay, that is not the best thing in the world, especially when you're like you have a Comic Con the next day and that you decide to trip in the washer too long and there's like tore in it and you're like, oh man.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to learn how to sew. That's my big thing. Is that what you asked? Like I like to learn new.
Well, like
Yeah, I
what
like to
did you learn?
learn.
Well, like what did you learn after 100 episodes? Like what's like a big takeaway?
Oh, what did I learn? Well, I learned that everybody has a different way to cosplay, and there's not just one set of cosplay because the cosplay is for everyone, from young to old to middle, tall, small. It don't matter. I mean, cosplay is for everyone, and when you cosplay, and what does it really mean? It means you cos and you play, and you basically have no limits. You could be as young as like a kid to someone who's a senior and still cosplay and enjoy it. And you could be the most athletic person versus the not so athletic and still cosplay because cosplay is really a hobby and an art open to everyone.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I thought what could be fun, as opposed to what we normally, all these questions and all that, is we've all experienced comic conventions. Three of us have been vendors. You've gone to cosplaying. We've gone to purchase things as just guests, and we've probably learned a lot about cons. And so I thought it'd be cool if like each of us could try to think of like what is a do, like something you should do at cons, whether as like an individual or like interacting with cosplayers, and what is like one thing you should not do at cons. So I can, I'm a teacher, and what we do as teachers is we model for students. So I would think I can start for for a do at a convention, I would say um do I think this might be Lauren, so I don't want to steal this one. Well, this feels like something Lauren might say, so I'm not gonna say this one. If you don't say it, I'll say it. I would say do uh do interact with cosplayers, right? If you see something that you like, tell somebody, right? I think cosplayers do like to, like, I've cosplayed as Spider-Man and like the Riddler. Cosplayers work hard on their cosplay. They generally like saying, hey, can I take a picture with you and all that. And then I guess I would say a do not would be, just like don't be, I guess respect people's space, you know, cosplayers or like just comic vendors, anybody in general, just like, it's a busy area. If someone wants a picture, don't be like from afar, take a picture of them. If you want a picture, ask. If someone doesn't want to be, just respect people's boundaries, I suppose.
Makes sense to me. Yeah. I'm not sure that my do would be what you were thinking. There's lots of do's, of course there's lots of don'ts, but the first thing for me for do as far as going to a convention is scour the whole building. I'm always looking for Spider-Man toys or, anything that's out of the ordinary, possibly in the Spider-Man world, maybe a shirt, and the price that those people have is not the price that they'll sell it for. That's pretty obvious, especially as being a vendor. So be willing to haggle, and as Tyler also mentioned, if you see a cosplayer and you want to get a picture, just ask them and they'll be more than happy to do it 9 times out of 9.9.
Yeah,
That's what they're there for.
I have not encountered many people that, like, if you ask, can I get a picture? They're like, no.
No. Yeah.
Most people like if
I'm
you're
good,
into
man.
costume, I feel like you kind of want a little bit of attention. So it's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and of course, obviously, the don't is don't be a jerk. Be respectful to, especially the ladies that are, that went to great lengths to, you know, dress up and look and feel good. So be respectful to those folks, and always ask. Uh, don't don't walk away from a dealer if he's not going to budge on your price. Angry, it's just move on to the next guy and make the next guy happy.
yeah,
It's just
yeah, have a good
there's
attitude.
and especially don't badmouth other dealers that you might not get the price that you want. That's not that's and especially here's another one. Don't steal. We've
Yeah.
been seeing that a lot lately in the last cons that we've gone to, where we've heard of some of our friends that are also vendors uh, getting ripped off. Just don't steal people's books. That's just stupid. You wouldn't even know what to do with it. If you're stealing a book, you don't know what the heck you're doing. So don't do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll move on down to Tim. What you got?
Well, thinking about it, I don't know if it's, I think it falls along the line of what, you and Tyler have sort of said. Um, as someone who has a daughter who cosplays a lot with her friends and attends a lot of these conventions with us.
Mhm.
A lot of work goes into these costumes, and the thought and planning into executing these characters, and they're just looking to have a good time, with other people that are in the
Mhm.
same community. A little bit of, if you see something that's really neat, or even if it's like uh maybe it's a character that you're not that familiar with, but it looks really cool, just saying, hey man, that's really awesome, or that's really cool. It's something that'll make them feel like, they got a little they got a little acknowledgement. Not saying you have to, just saying that sometimes it's nice to.
Yeah.
And and then of course, you know, uh don't don't follow people around taking pictures if they're not comfortable with you doing that.
Hmm.
That's you know, that is something that's not cool. And unfortunately, doesn't really happen often. Doesn't really happen often at all. But when it does happen, you know, it makes for an uncomfortable environment for somebody.
Yeah.
So
Walker, what do you
That's
think?
true. Well, let's see. Do make sure you have a friend with you, because you never know. Because not riding coattails of anybody, but someone might stalk you or harass you. But you want someone like a friend to be there to have your back. But also you want to go there, have a good time,
Yeah.
plan the con in advance. If you can, see if you could bring your own little bag. Like if you bring your own bag, you're good. Like for example, you want to bring these kind of things right here, your
Hmm.
own tote bag, because not all the time vendors carry bags. And because I learned my lesson when I didn't bring a bag, I got stuff, but I lost stuff, and they were gone to the crowd in there and never got to see them again. So I kind of said, oh man, I got to do something. So bring your own bag. And if you're going to have food, make, because con food can be expensive, but prefer there should be like a area to eat. So don't eat a pretty big meal before the con. Just eat something simple like a granola bar or something simple. And if you see people who in cosplay that are sitting down, and they, like for example, if you see Darth Vader sitting down and he has his helmet off, and that means he is not able to do the picture thing. And if he says no, respect it.
Hmm.
And also, this is a big don't know. If you see any celebrities that you see at Comic Cons, don't be like, oh my gosh. Don't be like all really excited. Don't be like, because they're people too. I mean, you could say, hey, I liked you in, for example, I would say to, let's just say Kevin said, hey man, I liked you in Clerks. Don't be like, oh my God, silent. No, just they're people too. Don't hound them. Just say, hey, love your stuff. You did a great job. And don't overly talk, because there's some people that will talk for hours to the in the line to the celebrity, and there's a long line of people saying, okay, I understand, you're glad to see him, but you're talking for an hour or two, and honestly, it gets, because some people have anxiety about being in a line for too long. I mean, I don't mind the long lines, but I know some people don't like that, people who take up too much time. But that's my and I guess another do is, you also want to, if you see an artist, make sure you compliment the work. Say, hey, I love this little picture that you did of Groot, or hey, you did a great job when you drew this Batman, or just express some positivity, some encouragement, words of affirmations. Hey, I love your stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have someone hold something for you, make sure you get your thing. Otherwise, you're being kind of rude. I would say, hey, can you hold this for me? And you don't really come back for it. You're just, it's just completely rude. But that's my do's and don'ts at cons.
We've never done. We've never done.
One more thing, I don't. One more don't. Don't harass people. Just because the girl looks like she's like a very very confident herself, don't be like, hey, can I get your number? Hey, can I get, no? Just be polite. Be polite, and just remember that it's rude to be to hound somebody. And if a girl says no, respect it and realize it's okay to. There's more. There's a lot. You don't need to treat Comic-Con as a dating service. I mean, come on. I mean, it's fun to meet people, but you don't need to expect like, hey, I'm going there just to get a phone number. No.
A lot of people don't have, a lot of people don't have pockets. They might not have their phone. Um, I do want to echo your one of your dues of like planning, because it depends on the con too. I mean, we've gone to small cons where like you can see, you know, the entire con within the ballroom.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quick, but like, I mean, I've gone to like Raleigh Galaxy Con, or you know, where we were meeting celebrities, and that's like an ordeal. You know, going to panels, you got to plan out your day.
Yeah.
Lauren, the do that I thought you were going to maybe allude to was like the do ask questions, right? You know, we've got a sign for that in our for our booth that we always do, is like, just, you know, ask people stuff. If you're like, you know, whether it's a comic book dealer, a cosplayer, an artist, like if you're like, you know, can I see that book? You know, or can I, you know, what can you do on this? Or like, wow, how'd you do this with like drawing? You know, I mean, people love asking questions. You know, it's good to interact with people. And I know like a lot of comic book people tend to be introverted. I'm fairly introverted. You know, when I get in the zone, I'm not talking a ton when I'm looking through boxes. But if I have a question, like I'm gonna ask it. I gotta know. You know.
Oh yeah, I understood that. I mean, and you're not wrong. I mean, but it's just but don't be like waiting asking questions that would take like an hour or two, and like, and it's good to talk, but don't hold the line too long.
Oh yeah, you got to be respectful of other people, especially like when you get to certain booths and all that, and it's getting crowded. You know, if you're not really actively looking through a box, or if somebody's trying to look through, like if I'm at Batman, you know, if I'm trying to get to Batman or whatever, and someone's like kind of standing there and like I'm just trying to, I'm like, can I see the Batman, please? And they're just standing there. I do get a little annoyed, you know. Yeah.
Understood.
There's another thing that was said, but I do think the general thing, different cons, and you know, in general, just, you know, go in there, have fun. You know, that's the purpose of it. You know, have a good time. Be respectful of everybody you meet. You know, like I said, don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, the expectation is on the floor. I mean, it's very easy to not do that, but you know, some people do otherwise. I do agree again with the, if you ask someone to hold something, please come back and
Yeah.
purchase it, because you know,
Yeah.
whenever you, and Tim and Lauren can speak to this, as you know, with being vendors, like when you say, and we've had a good experience. I remember in Clemens we had a good example of this, where somebody said, I might get this, can you please put it aside, and they did come back and get it. But sometimes, you know, if you're saying, can you put X book aside, you're putting that away for like, what if there's somebody else that wants it and they would have bought it immediately, but it's a side. So it's just like, and then at the end, if they never show up, you're like, well, you know,
Yeah, I could have sold that book. Thanks, fella.
yeah,
You know,
Exactly. And like, geez, like someone could have found that little 1977 Kenny or Darth Vader removable saber figure. No, I was kidding. But seriously, I get you. I mean, because I mean, I've seen it a lot. I mean, I see people say, "Hey, can you hold this Wolverine figure that has battle damage armor?" And then you, or I'm the nerd that basically say, "I was looking for that." It's yeah, but this is on hold. But the person doesn't show; they just be
yeah,
complete.
exactly. Then you're like, well, could have made that transaction happen. You know, could have made somebody happy.
Exactly. But be respectful.
Yeah,
But that's all I have for that. If there's any more questions for you, gentlemen, I'm an open book.
that's a good teaser.
Tyler, I was sensing some inner animosity there.
Uh-oh.
For what? The
I'm kidding.
It's a good.
I'm
I think
kidding.
that's a good teaser for your upcoming Comic Con episode. You know, we can hear all more thoughts on with your Comic Con.
I guess I'm just talking about what Comic Con is, and basically all the people think Comic Con, they always think about the two big ones: San Diego Comic Con on the West Coast, and then there's Dragon Con, which is a lot of fun. I've been to that one once, and that's over there in Atlanta, Georgia, which I got to tell you, in my personal opinion, is the best Comic Con I've been to thus far, especially when it's 4 days back to back, four hotels hosted, and there's a lot of great activities to do there, from karaoke to like a rave, a dance, or whatever. It's just like, I mean, it's also, and the dealer room stays open all the time. And of course, I remember going there and I had to literally have two energy drinks to keep myself awake because I so much to do there and so much good fun times. I mean, I had a great time there. I mean, that's where I met Lou Ferrigno, and that's also where I met Benedict Wong, aka Wong from the Doctor Strange movies, and I met Tom Welling from Smallville, John Heater, Napoleon Dynamite, the actress who plays Zoe in Firefly, and I guess I could mention how it, because I haven't been to GalaxyCon. I've always wanted to go. I've only been to Heroes Con. I've only been to Charlotte Comic Con, Charlotte Minicon, and the Microcon.
Microcon is also coming up next week, I believe, on May
May
6th.
6th.
Yep, and we're going to be there. We're going to be slinging books and having a good time. It looks like it's going to be pretty big. It looks like there was a pretty big vendor list from what I saw the map.
Okay,
It's going to be fun.
Okay, well, no, sadly I won't be in town. I will be on a much needed vacation that I have on May the 4th,
No, well, may the 4th be with you.
and with
Indeed.
you as well.
So, where
Wow.
in the world can people find you if they're wanting to hear some back issues of podcasts? See what I did there? Back issues of podcasts.
Very
I
clever.
did. That's awesome. I like that. I like that one a lot. Well, you can find me on Facebook. I have my own like page for my cosplay. Not my cosplay, my podcast, and it's called the Nerd Power Hour. But it's found on Facebook .com/Nerd Power Hour Nerd. Sorry. Let me rephrase it. Facebook.com/Nerd Power Hour podcast, and just give a like or follow, and you could see all the episodes there. And occasionally I will do something like a picture wise, where I would, like, for example, when it's a special celebrity wise for nerddom, I would say happy birthday to Kevin Smith, or happy birthday to Elizabeth Olsen, or with a holiday like happy holidays, and I have some kind of nerd reference with it. Like I have like Happy Life Day, which because I know that it's an old Star Wars thing that not a lot of people talk about that much, but Star Wars Holiday Special, it's not the greatest, but that's when I hear Life Day, I think of course it was Christmas wise. And then I also have one for Thanksgiving, which has nerd characters carving a turkey. And I keep it very, of course, I got all these little pictures from Reddit, and helps a lot. But At the same time, that's where you can find my back issues or back episodes, if you will, of the Nerd Power Hour. And I love the intro that I came up with it. I made it myself with different character voices, like from Mario to Carl Sagan to Bill Nye the Science Guy to Joker from the Batman the Animated Series to James Arnold, the Clone Wars Obi-Wan cartoon voice, and I mashed them all together, and it's a really awesome little intro. I mean, it's like this is the Nerd Power Hour. This is the first podcast for nerds, by nerds, for nerds, to discuss all things nerd. And so sit back and enjoy the show. And then it goes with hello, nerds and nerdettes. So, yeah, that's
Well, cool. I'm glad we got that information out there so everybody can go check it out.
yes.
It's
I
definitely been an awesome time chatting with you today. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you out there at one of the cons it will be at. But I understand that you've got business this coming May 4th, and that's good. That's good. We'll
Yeah.
see you at a different one for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you guys, if you guys go to Heroes Con, you guys will see me there. I mean, it's all thanks to Mr. Sheldon Drum, who put that con together. And I've been going to that con since 1997.
Yep, it's a great
Yeah,
one.
we're usually there too.
Yep.
Okay. So then if I see you there, you'll probably see me in one of my costumes. I never really tell people what my costumes are for the year until the day of the con. I keep it as almost like a Christmas type gift where I give hints in there on my Instagram, but I don't really show a full picture of the costume until the day of the con. I keep it as a like surprise, if you will.
Nice.
Now, for a 3-day con like that, would you do 3 different costumes, or would you keep it the same for all 3 days?
Oh, I will do 3 different costumes for each day, and I know that if I had a hotel room near the con, I would probably do 6 costumes. Like in the morning, do this character. In the afternoon, I'll do that character, and then same thing for the. But I do 3 different ones, and I keep them. Like for once, like last year, I did the Obi-Wan Kenobi, old Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I did that because Obi-Wan Kenobi series came out on Disney Plus, and it was a lot of fun. In one year, I also did Freddie Mercury from Queen, was the Bohemian Rhapsody movie was coming out that year.
Wow. Nice. All over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess how much jack of all trades con nerd. I have I mean, I plan to do the hobby as much as I can. I mean, I'd probably be like 70 years old and still cosplay and still enjoying it. I will never get tired of it.
Nice. Well, we appreciate it, and it's been a joy talking to you. And I'm sure we'll see you at a con, and we'll have to be surprised at what you are next. So, Walter, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
I know.
Yay! Con!